that he is committed to this team, and this was what he said about it too. He said, "You can talk about my performances whatever you want, but to question my commitment, especially towards the national team, in my opinion, that's way out of line. But that's how it is. I just don't understand why so many people are so big on just wanting to give out these takes when they've been through tough moments themselves. I don't understand the idea of wanting to divide this fan base against the players, against the team, and bring a negative light over it anyway, but we tend to do that a lot, and it doesn't make sense to me, but truly, I don't let it affect me that much, keeping that much, Chad." And he mentioned some of these former players by name, Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, saying, I used to look up to these guys when I was growing up. So that must be really tough to hear that criticism from them.
Of course it is, especially a player like Christian Pulisic. And he's right to make the point that you can question his performances. Truthfully, given his performances, there's not a lot to question there. So there'll be inevitable debates about Christian Pulisic and where he falls in terms of all-time US players. So you cannot question his performances. So you have to look for something else. And this is the thing. This is the thing with me. I was certainly looking at this, and to the point that both Mao and Herc are making, looking for leadership from the US Soccer Federation. Let's be honest. Dating back to the last World Cup, I'm not sure they've done anything that suggests that they are capable of leadership in, above all, tough circumstance. And again, I'm looking at this from the outside. The amazing thing to me is that you have players, you have players under pressure, you have a coach under pressure, you have a federation under pressure, and everybody is protecting their own interests at this point. A year out from a World Cup, nobody is trying to step up. Nobody's trying to be that leader. Nobody is putting their necks out there in a way that's needed for the good of what's to come over the next 12 months. And everybody is self-protecting. Once that starts happening, then we really are playing with a house of cards here, and it's only a matter of time. And I think we're all in agreement that while we're talking about a matter of time, it's going to get a whole lot worse over the next month.
Right.
It's as the Gold Cup progresses, unless those performances are quite simply out of this world, Pochettino will find himself under more pressure. The players will, whether they're in the squad or not, the Christian Pulisic and everybody else will find themselves under more pressure. US Soccer Federation will find themselves under more pressure. So if this is how they're reacting now, in 4 to 6 weeks' time, once it starts to settle after this Gold Cup, I'm afraid to think what that might look like.
It's tough to ask one single player, one single coach, one single person, period, in the federation to carry all of this, especially when we talk about the fact that the World Cup is going to be mainly played in the United States. So with that said, Mao, Herc, whoever wants to start first on this, it seems like I can't think of the mythological character right now, but it's the story of a man pushing a boulder up a hill and then just is about to get there and it falls because he can't do it by himself. Who need to be those main characters to help push that boulder over whatever hill they want? Let's call this hill the World Cup next year.
It's just going to be Pulisic and Pochettino. But it's as simple as that. Shaka's right. There's nobody else with that kind of power, with that kind of influence that's going to bring the two parties together and get to an agreement. It's not going to be like that. I have confidence because I hear Shaka and he's kind of disheartened, like it's just going to get worse before it gets better, right? And I feel that Herc shares that sentiment, but given the experience that both Pulisic and Pochettino have accumulated in their amazing careers, I feel there's going to come a point in time in which Pochettino's probably going to have the bigger man because he has to trust his best player and say, listen, we probably started on the wrong foot. Let's get together, let's have a cup of coffee, let's talk things out, and let's work together. I feel that needs to happen, and I'm confident it will happen if both parties understand that's the best for the team. I don't know if you feel that, but I feel that's the only way that this can be fixed.
I'm very surprised at how much weight Christian Pulisic puts on this specifically, of the criticism of the U.S. men's national team, because I know for a fact that when you play for a club like Chelsea, when you play for a club like Dortmund, when you play on this Milan, you're going to get criticized. So I'm very surprised that it's here he's speaking out. And I could only think...
Because he's the focal point.
Well, he's been the focal point elsewhere. He at Chelsea, he was... Every time he had a somewhat okay performance or bad performance, it would rain on him. And that's a place where wherever you go out, it's going to be
He was never
news.
the leader of those clubs,
It doesn't matter, but there is nothing here. Football Americas and whatever podcast is out there is the only place that he's going to get criticism. He's not going to walk the streets in the United States and people throw tomatoes at him. It's not going to be that type of scene. So I'm very surprised at why so much stock on this issue. Every team around the world is going to face criticism. Every player, if you're worthy of it, is going to face criticism. He plays in an environment right now where he should be used to the criticism. That worries me a bit. Now, Christian Pulisic is a very, very talented player. But this should not worry him. This is, and the irony here is, one of the biggest critics and who's inserted himself in this is Landon Donovan. Landon Donovan and Christian Pulisic are so similar. The parallels are uncanny. They are so, even in the playing style and their decision making, and how introverted they are, and the way that they speak, their demeanor, they are so similar. I don't understand why two players that similar on the same career trajectory at the club, or excuse me, not the club level, at the international level, are at odds with each other in this way. It is just beyond me. But this should not be something that he focuses on.